Counselors, I believe that neither of you has appeared before me in a domestic hearing and that neither of you has been involved in a custody action before. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I've acted in several divorce actions, but not in any contested custody case.
Well, all right. I just wanted to make a brief statement about the manner in which I expect this matter to be handled by counsel as well as by your witnesses. Now, this will be a trial in every sense of the word in which we respect the rules of evidence. I will not ask a counsel to make an opening statement, and I will reserve the right to question any and all of the witnesses directly. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, the question of which parent should be entitled to the custody and sole control of the child is, as you know, a sensitive and highly emotional question. And the court's decision will be based solely upon what we perceive to be the welfare and the best interests of the child. The desires of the parents, even of the child himself, will have to yield to the judgment of the court.
Your Honor, the child in this case is just an infant. We feel he should not really be brought into court.
Yet, Mr. Nelson, the court is aware of the age of the child, and I hope that you and your client are aware that the burden of proof will rest upon you, since it is common court policy to award custody to the mother, unless it can be clearly demonstrated that she is unfit or incapable of caring for him properly.
Well, Your Honor, we feel that we will clearly demonstrate that she is indeed unfit.
Mr. Nelson, I ask that there be no preliminary statements.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, since both sides have petitioned for custody, I will let the choice of precedence be up to you.
We flipped a coin, Your Honor. Mrs. Swift will present her case for custody first.
Very well, then. You may call your first witness, counsel.
We call Mrs. Benita Thomas.
Mrs. Benita Thomas, please take the stand. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Mrs. Benita Thomas.
Be seated.
Mrs. Thomas, what is your employment?
I'm director of the Medford Foundation.
What is that exactly?
It's a non-profit institution dedicated to public welfare, particularly the welfare of children. We're mostly engaged in research studies and advisory functions.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do prior to becoming director of this foundation?
I was employed by the Monticello Department of Public Welfare.
You were an investigator?
That's correct.
How many years were you employed in this job?
About 12 years. My last job was department manager.
So, Mrs. Thomas, you are obviously very experienced in this field, are you not?
Mrs. Thomas is very well known to the court. You may proceed with the testimony.
Certainly, Your Honor. Mrs. Thomas, were you ever in the home of Mrs. Raven Swift and her son Jameson Swift?
Yes, I was.
On what date?
August the 1st.
Did Mrs. Swift know that you were coming?
No, she did not.
It was a total surprise visit, then?
Well, it should never be a complete surprise. Would-be adoptive parents and parents with custody disagreements should realize that their circumstances could be investigated. However, we do like to keep the date of the actual visit open.
Simply because you don't want any artificial preparation for your visit?
Well, we do want to observe the situation on a normal basis, yes.
So, when you called at the home of Mrs. Raven Swift, unexpectedly, what did you find?
Generally, the home conditions of the child seem satisfactory.
Just satisfactory, Mrs. Thomas, or very satisfactory?
Well, I'd say quite satisfactory. However, it's really based on external impressions.
The child seemed healthy, well taken care of?
Yes, he did.
What sort of physical surroundings had been arranged for him?
Well, he was in a very attractive nursery. It seemed to be completely equipped, and he had an extensive wardrobe.
What sort of arrangements had been made for the child's care? I mean, other than the normal care a mother generally gives her child, was there a baby nurse?
Yes, there was.
Were you familiar with this particular nurse?
I knew her by reputation.
Was it a good reputation?
Your Honor, we feel that it's irrelevant to get into debate as to whether a mother can take care of her child better than a hired nurse.
Nevertheless, I will allow the latitude, Mr. Nelson.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Thomas, in your objective report to this court, isn't it true that you saw no reason in the world why Raven Swift should not retain custody of her child?
I made no recommendation for custody. I simply stated that I was aware of no home conditions that would be against the best interest of this child.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Counsel, you wish to cross-examine?
Yes, sir. Miss Thomas, I have your report here. Admittedly, I'm not familiar with the child custody battles, but I am familiar with legalistic language, and it seems to me to be very short. How many times did you visit Mrs. Swift?
Once.
Just once? Is it common to make decisions based on just one visit?
No, not ordinarily. We usually make 2, 3 visits, but I was very busy at the foundation at the time, and...
So then you made your judgment on the care of Jamie Swift based on only one visit. You said that Mrs. Swift was not expecting you, but were you aware that she was expecting someone else?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, you didn't know that all the Mother Goose wallpaper and the baby furniture and the extensive wardrobe you mentioned, plus the hired nurse herself, were merely for the benefit of impressing Nadine Scott, Raven's mother, who was on her way from London.
Objection, Your Honor. This is entirely irrelevant. Totally.
Yes, I'll sustain.
Oh, I thought that Mrs. Thomas knew. I'm sorry. I have no further questions.
Very well, then, you may step down, Mrs. Thomas. Mr. Rutledge, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I wish now to call Mrs. Raven Swift.
Mrs. Raven Swift, please take the stand. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Raven Swift.
Be seated.